Welcome back to another video of mine. So today's video is just going to be me answering a couple of questions. I got them from Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so I think this is a nice question to get started. I'm doing okay. I just recovered from having a chest and lung infection, which is nothing out of the ordinary for me. I get these annually, but I'm doing okay. It's the reason why I haven't posted a lot of videos or post online, and I haven't been able to go to college due to being sick. So I'm back in college next week after the midterm, and I cannot wait. So the next question is kind of a hard one to answer because I can't really pick just one favorite moment. Since I started my career in journalism and activism, I have been given so many amazing opportunities that I can't really just pick one. So I'm going to pick two. So recently I made a documentary with four other people in collaboration with Youth Work Ireland in Galway and Nova Productions, and it was funded by the Irish Human Rights Equality Commission, and it's called Breaking Barriers. So there was me and four other young people with disabilities talking about the reality of what it's like to live with a disability in Ireland, specifically in Galway. And we challenged ableism, and that project that I did is going to be one of those things that when I'm older that I'll look back on with great pride. I feel very, very grateful and proud that I was a part of it. So that is one of my absolute favourites. And then the second one is back in April, I got to speak in the Seanad in the Dáil, and I got to speak with 20 other Irish travellers. We all came from different parts of the country, talk about different things, and I spoke about what it's like for me as a disabled Irish traveller living in Ireland. And that it was just amazing because travellers don't really get to go into the Seanad and speak like that. So I feel very proud that I got to be one of them that did. So if I had to pick a few role models apart from my parents and my grandmother, because I couldn't just pick one, I'd have to pick Martin Ward, who has been an Irish traveller activist for nearly 40 years. He does a lot to help the youth of Irish travellers, and he was the first ever Irish traveller elected mayor in June, I think in 2009. I'm just a big fan of what he does. The next person I would consider my role model would be Senator Eileen Flynn. She is the first ever Irish traveller elected to the Dáil, and I'm just a big fan of her because she is such a powerhouse. She doesn't do things just for her. She is trying to improve the rights for everyone in the Irish traveller community, but she is such a good support for the youth of Irish travellers. So I'd consider her one of my role models. And then the last one, but certainly not the least, Martin Beans Ward. He is an amazing comedian, TV presenter, journalist, activist, all of the above. He has done a lot, and what I like about him is no matter what he has done, he has never changed himself. And he has given me a few opportunities to do things that I wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. And he never let the ladder up behind him. He is always willing to help the other Irish travellers, and I hope to be like him in my career someday, be able to give an opportunity to the next traveller or someone, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of different parts of activism that brings me joy, but what brings me the most joy is knowing whatever I do, whatever project I take part in, it's going to help improve the world for the next generation. And what I mean by that is when I get offers of opportunities, I take the majority of them because I look at my own 4-year-old nephew Patrick and I think to myself, like, if I take part in this, it's potentially going to help him and the next generation. So that's what brings me joy. And I'm going to answer this in a different way as well. I sometimes get messages from young people and they thank me for what I'm doing. And I don't want to say it in a way that it sounds like I have a big head, but I enjoy the praise because I know that they're watching me do something and they're thinking that if I can do it, so can they. So that's what brings me the most joy. I hope that makes sense. Also, I just want to apologize if you can hear the constant tapping. I'm taking the questions off my phone, so that's why there's constant tapping. But next question. I don't have a coffee order because I don't like coffee. My go-to drink other than water, and I drink very little water if I'm being honest, is Coke. But if you want me to try some coffee orders, leave me some suggestions. I might make that into a video. But before you leave me a suggestion, please just think, I am not a fan of milk. I hate milk. So if I see a drink that is similarly looking to milk, I am automatically turned off it. So just have that in mind before you suggest something to me. Thank you. Summer. And the reason why I thrive better in the summer, I don't get sick as often, and I love the warm weather. But at the same time, I love Christmas. I'm a person that doesn't even think about Halloween. I hate Halloween. I listen to Christmas music in August and I start watching Christmas films in September. So I love Christmas, but I'm going to have to say my favorite season is summer because I do, again, thrive better. This next question has a very long answer, but I want to be able to answer it truthfully, so I apologize in advance. And also, I'm going to be talking about it from my perspective of having the majority of my consultants be in Dublin, and then I'm going to talk about what it was like to transfer from children's services to adults in Galway. So, my transition was a little tricky from Dublin because I turned 18 during the pandemic and there wasn't a lot of conversations between my consultants and me for that year for obvious reasons. But I had a couple conversations I can barely remember, to be honest, when I was 16, so 2018, with my future consultants. So when I went from Crumlin to where I go now for my metabolic clinic, I didn't meet a bunch of strangers. I kind of knew who I was going to meet, but before I transitioned over, I didn't know what hospital I'd be going to. All I knew was the name of my consultant, and that's it. I got my first appointment from my first adult service appointment in 2021. So I went a few months without knowing anything to getting a letter saying, oh, you need to be here. So it was a bit confusing that way because there wasn't a lot of conversations. But then with Galway, the only time I had clinics in Galway was for my occupation therapy, my OT, and physio, and they were the best. I had the same physiotherapist from when I was 6 until I was 18. She was one of my favorite people that I had ever met in my care team. And my OT, she was brilliant. I kind of owe her a lot because when I wanted to start going out and go to college, she gave me that little push in the right direction. She got me my PA the first ever time, and she found the first college course I was doing. And when I was leaving Enable Ireland, because that's where I had my OT and my physio, they spent months during the pandemic talking to me about it, and they did that right up to 2 days before I turned 18. We had one final meeting about it, and I felt so confident going from them to the adult services. But even though they did that, I did not get any conversation or letters from my new OT and all that until August of last year when I ended up in hospital. So I think there should be more services and supports for young people transitioning from children's to adults. I hope that answers. I hope that answers your question. So I don't think I've been given much advice. It's more so words of encouragement I was given. My parents always said to me, like, you can do this, like, your disability doesn't define you. You can do whatever you want. You just need to work at it. So I had that mantra in my head. I was like, just because I use a wheelchair, that doesn't mean I can't do whatever I want. So I consider that advice. So that's the best advice I was ever given. A great question. I would just like to say I do not consider myself a public figure. I do consider myself an activist, a nice and good activist at that if I'm going to be a bit cocky. But I haven't really experienced a lot of negativity in my activism career since I started nearly 3 years ago. And if I do, I just block it. I have never cared what people think about me. So if I see comments, I will just block and forget. But I really haven't gotten that many. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. My favorite takeaway is Supermax. If you ask anyone that knows me in my personal life, I love Supermax. When I was young, the only thing I would eat was Supermax, and even now, my local Supermax knows me, knows my order by heart. So yeah, Supermax is the best takeaway in the world, not just in Ireland, in the world. So yeah, my favourite thing from Supermax is either a plain regular burger or chicken tenders. Love you, Supermax. So this is one of my favourite questions to be asked, but I'm going to have to give 2 answers because I have a favourite non-fiction book and then a fiction book. I'm going to answer the non-fiction part right now. It's called Never Know Your Place by Martin Naughton and Joanna Marsden. It's about Martin Naughton. He was a disability rights activist. He passed away in 2016, and it was about his life and how he fought for his independence and right to live in Ireland. And he is one of the founders of the independent living movement in Ireland. I'm such a big fan of him. I loved his book. And then my second one, my favorite author, and I know this is a bit of a controversial thing, but I like Colleen Hoover. I like Elsie Silver, and I like Chloe Walsh. My favorite book is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I highly recommend the Boys of Tommen series to anyone. My YouTube channel is going poorly, but if you want to subscribe, there's a link in my Instagram. Thank you. I think this is a nice question to kind of finish it off. The main thing I would like to achieve in life, and it kind of goes back to a question a minute ago, I would like to become a public figure. And the reason why is because I want to be a role model for young disabled people in general. I just want to be one of those role models because I didn't have that when I was growing up. I never felt seen because wheelchair users especially weren't seen in the media and they weren't represented on television or in books. So I'd like to be that. I don't think I am one right now, but my goal would be to be one. So if someone heard my name, Emma Ward, they'll be like, oh, if Emma Ward can do this, maybe I can. So that's one of my goals, my top goal. But some of my more achievable goals would be to be a journalist who gives people who don't have a voice in the Irish media a platform to share their stories. And more personal goals, I want to be the best. So yeah, there's some of my goals. Some of my personal goals though is just to be happy. And I think if I can achieve some of them goals I just mentioned, I will be very happy in my life. So I think they're all the questions. So I think they're all the questions I was asked. Thank you so much to everyone that did ask me a question. I really appreciate it. I will be back probably sometime this week with another video. Thank you so much for watching.